support Roland Martin Unfiltered, be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Joining me now is Malcom, Nance, terrorism expert and author of the book, The Plot to Betray America, How the Team Trump Embraced Our Enemies, Compromised Our Security, and How We Can Fix It. This is critical. The title of that book is critically important, Malcom. Go ahead and pull the book back up, please. It's critically important. The Plot to Betray America, How Team Trump Embraced Our Enemies, Compromised Our Security, and How We Can Fix It. Let's deal with the first part, how Team Trump embraced our enemies. The Republican Party and Donald Trump full throttle embraced white supremacists, embraced these militias. They catered to them. They supported them. They sat there and allowed them to flourish. When you see all these photos of these various people, when you look at these groups, Charlie Kirk has taken down this particular this tweet where he talked about how Turning Point USA funded 80 buses bringing people to the U.S. Capitol. But also, I'm going to play again for our folks, and Malcolm, you may not have seen this. I'm going to play it again. This is what I said on February 21st, 2016 on ABC This Week. Listen to the Republican at the end.
They invited evil in, and now evil is taking over. Okay, 2009, the night of Obama's inauguration, we will stop him at every turn. They love the Tea Party anger. They took advantage of it in 10 and 12 and 14. They always said, we can control it. We can harness it. Now, all of a sudden, Trump is taking advantage of it. He led the whole birther deal. The Republican establishment at some point has to say, you know what? We played with fire, and now it's about to consume us. They have to accept some blame.
The Republican establishment never played with.
Sarah jumped in and said the Republican establishment never played with fire.
Never played with fire. Oh, yeah. They're playing with napalm now. And in fact, one of their followers was kind enough to bring napalm with him to the Capitol. You know, Roland, as unfortunate a title as my last book is, you really don't want to know what my next book is called, because I started writing it 4 months ago, and the subtitle was The Fanatics, Terrorists, Militias, and Deranged Ideology of the Coming Trump Insurgency. I have to change it now. The insurgency is here. It has moved away from being what we saw was a gathering storm, and Donald Trump pushed these people first into insurrection and sedition, because we hear all the seditious talk from his supporters. It was considered the rhetoric of Trump, the flower of the way that he speaks, to talk in terms of putting the government out, and only Donald Trump is representative of the government. So, as you said in my current title book, how they betrayed, embraced America's enemies, well, you are finding out now firsthand that white supremacy is the dominant motivator for Donald Trump's supporters. There's no greater white privilege than being able to go into the nation's capital, trash it, beat policemen to death, actually smear feces on the wall, steal, loot, and pillage, and then get escorted out politely with no one being arrested. So that's where we are, but now we are entering a new phase of confrontation in American history, a very old foe, and what it is now building up into an Iraq-like insurgency. And many of these people are going to embrace real terrorism, and they think that they're all bit players in a new version of that insurgent group, the Wolverines. In the American occupation fantasy where all liberals are communists.
This is the thing that people need to understand. When the President of the United States takes the oath of office, when members of Congress take the oath of office, this is what they have to repeat. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And it's that last part. From all enemies, foreign or domestic. That was put there because we've always had domestic terrorists. People who are white in America who've wanted to overthrow governments.
You know, it's very true. We've always had domestic enemies in this country, and it came to a fruition in 1860. But what we're seeing is really, if you were to categorize it, this would be 1862.0 or 1.75. We never dealt with the demons of the Civil War. In fact, the reconciliation afterwards was rather good. The Reconstruction really benefited them. And what we have is people who are more than willing to bring not just the Confederate flag into the U.S. Capitol. I just want to point something out to you. Next time you watch video of that rally, there are 10-1 Trump flags versus American flags.
Right.
And that.
At one point, they took the American flag down and raised the Trump flag.
Raised the Trump flag. That's correct. So you're looking at the core of their ideology. This is the most rabid cult of personality in American history. And I'd say that unreservedly because the Civil War, they at least tried to use a constitutional basis for their rebellion, and people actually split along the ideological lines of, states' rights. States' right to keep Black people as property and make them free money. So now what you have is a completely different animal. You have people that are willing to destroy the United States government, kidnap, capture, and kill its elected representatives to call for the death of the number two person in the executive branch, to attempt to eliminate the entire representative branch of government, including their allies, because had that happened, had Mike Pence been injured or incapacitated or taken out of communication, Nancy Pelosi, who is third in line, been injured, incapacitated, or taken out of communication, the Senate, Chuck Grassley, right, Senator Pro Tem, the number 4 person in that line, Donald Trump that very afternoon would have been able to act as a monarch because there would be no people within the line of succession that were not incapacitated at that time. I wonder whether any of this actually crossed the minds of the protesters. And I'm going to give you a little psychology of a mob. A mob is not a human entity when they're set loose, right? What you have is minds that are almost bestial, almost visceral. I've been in a mob in India, and I've been in a mob in Iraq with people who really wanted to kill me. But people will lose all of their morals, their values. When they got to that building, the thought of destroying the Congress in order to save Donald Trump, which was synonymous with Save America, they had no problem with that. And right now, based on the communications I'm monitoring, they are regrouping. There's not a joke about them wanting to start on the 17th and start attacking things. They feel now that they've been made incommunicado, with Parler being taken down and other things like that. And they're seeking vengeance now on the very fact that Donald Trump, their tribal leader, is not able to just act as a dictator. And the problem is they're going to run into the full force of America at that point. They already hate it that they're being called terrorists and put on no-fly list at the airport. That's their level of inconvenience right now.
Malcolm, the Congressman Jim Clyburn gave an interview to Joe Madison last week on SiriusXM, where he seriously implied that this was an inside job. It looks like we lost Malcolm's video. Let me know when it's back. And that was an inside job. That they found his private office. They passed his public office, but found his private office. Yesterday on 60 Minutes, Speaker Nancy Pelosi was on, and she talked to Leslie Stahl about how her staffers hid under a conference table and barricaded the doors and recorded the audio of these people banging on the door. They were trying to get in. I had Congresswoman Maxine Waters on this show last week, and she said had she not left the Capitol early, she said there is no doubt in her mind that if they had come across her or some other Democrats, they would have tried to kill them. Your thoughts on this notion of an inside job? We now know that the Capitol Police are investigating 12 officers. As I said, 2 have been put on suspension. 1 has been arrested. Your thoughts on this notion of an inside job here?
You know, about a week ago, or just the day after, I had some issues with that until I came across intelligence that, yes, there was actually some inside work on the Capitol, and here's why. Not just with the sympathies of Capitol Hill Police. There are some boogaloo elements who liken themselves to, a military special operations organization. Some of them are military special operations that on the 5th of January went into the Capitol and the House office buildings and did reconnaissance of Nancy Pelosi's office. And we know one other, Adam Schiff. Today, they came out, some of these people came out and said, oh, that was just a joke. We're not really organized people. These people are militiamen, and they were in the House and the Capitol on the 5th. 2 of their followers are well-known right-wing journalists. I have no doubt at this point that they did know where they were going and that they went in there to facilitate all of the Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys that were at that thing. Let me tell you, that rally was chock full of every Proud Boy and Boogaloo Boy you could see. All these guys who came with their body armor and their helmet and backpack. Everyone that we saw at Charlottesville was there. Every right-wing personality that was there. All the Twitter and internet influencers who were Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys. And, oh, my God, the Oath Keeper, 3%ers, all were there in battle gear. Look at the videos. They're almost 2-to-1 in some instances. They came to fight and go to war. They knew they couldn't bring long rifles, but they understood they had people power, and their mass would knock down the defenses, along with the sympathizers who were clearly in Capitol Hill Police in some instances. A lot of officers, I noticed towards the end, when they had penetrated the building, were stepping aside as if they had received radio communications to let them come in. I've been in that building. I've never seen anyone open the door and step off to the side. Black officers, Hispanic officers.
Nobody.
Someone communicated to them not to do anything.
Someone
did. There's just no way.
But
we're going to find this out.
Folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.